Thank you, Mr. Chair and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your continued service to our great country. We are appreciative. And Secretary Austin, there has been a lot of discussion about Ukraine and Russia this morning. And in your opening statement that you did say that U.S. security policy must reflect the will of the American people. And the American people right now are calling on the administration to do more and to be tougher on Russia and bring more capability to bear for Ukraine. The Washington Post just this morning in one of their polls found that 56% of Americans think we haven't been tough enough on Russia. And so whatever the hesitancy to say win for Ukraine, victory for Ukraine, I will say it. I know a number of my colleagues will say it. I feel very firmly about victory for Ukraine and maintaining its sovereign integrity as a nation, their democratic form of governance. It's all very important to so many Americans because so many Americans see themselves reflected in the Ukrainians. They are a first world country. They've come a long way over the last 30 years. So success to me is still a free and sovereign Ukraine. So I do hope that we will continue to press very hard to make sure, as you stated, things are speeding up, delivery of lethal aid, but we absolutely must ensure that we are doing everything we can for the country of Ukraine and the citizens that are there. So I am going to turn, because we've focused a lot on Ukraine and Russia. General Milley, I'd like to jump to Central Command, if we can. I am concerned about the budgetary cuts and some of the flat lines that we are seeing across our CENTCOM operations budget. And many of the extremist organizations that are backed by the Iranian regime are striking across the region. And there's 4 terrorist organizations that are now operating in Afghanistan, and yet we don't have a U.S. footprint there to make sure that they aren't pushing threats against our homeland. So how have your Gulf state military counterparts, particularly Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the Abraham Accords member countries, reacted to our reduced military budget? Have you had any input from them?
Not about the budget per se, but there is concern because we are, the Department of Defense, we are doing a global posture review, as you know, and we're making adjustments to the footprint, and the Ukraine situation is a new development since we began that review quite some time ago. And CENTCOM is part of that review as well. So there is concern in the CENTCOM area of operations about what the result will be in terms of the footprint in CENTCOM, and we are continuing to work with our allies and partners to make sure it's appropriate to the level of threat. We clearly recognize the terrorist threat, both the residual threat in Afghanistan, but also throughout the region. Mm-hmm. And we think that we do have over-the-horizon capabilities, which we can discuss in classified session, but we do think we're effective in being able to find, fix, and when necessary, strike any potential threat to the homeland.
And it has been reported that the Emiratis won't accept the president's phone calls. Are you able to visit with your counterparts in the UAE?
I have not had any issue contacting counterparts in the Middle East.
Okay. And thank you for continuing the conversation with them. It is important that we maintain relationships through the Middle East, so I do appreciate that. With the administration continuing the negotiation of the Iranian nuclear deal, and then pair that with the reduced footprint that we have in the Middle East, is that driving some of the Gulf states' neutrality when it comes to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict? Your opinion?
I actually don't know. I'd have to ask them point blank. I haven't asked those questions point blank to them. I think they probably, I don't know, I'd be speculating, so I'd have to get back to you on that.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah. And then just very briefly as well, we haven't talked about this today, but it is something that is on my mind, and that is recruiting for our military. And we have found that Americans between the age of 17 to 24 only 29% of them would even be eligible to enlist. Just very briefly, thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're about right. 29% are eligible to meet the standards, medical, educational, discipline, legal, all that. And even less than that have a propensity. It's less than 5% that have a propensity to serve. And we know that part of that is because of COVID. We know the propensity to serve goes up once you make contact. So personal contact with individuals out there in the recruiting regions, that's the key to propensity to serve. So it is a tough recruiting environment right now. And as you know, I think the Army's a little bit behind. Navy, Marines, and Air Force are all meeting their marks. We're only 4 months into the year, and that'll get adjusted as high schools graduate in the summer. And I think at the end of the year, the Army's projected to come in a point or two below 100%. The other services are going to be at 100%.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Ernst. Senator Warren.